we have been working a lot with equations of a line, linear equations. And for the most part, they have all been in the form, the slope-intercept form, which is what we know as y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Okay? Well, that is just one form of an equation of a line. There's actually a few more. There's the point-slope form, and there's the standard form of a linear equation. All three have their own reasons for existing. They have their own benefits, and a lot of it has to do with what information is given to you. Before, we were given a slope and a y-intercept. We were able to calculate the slope and were given a y-intercept, so it made sense to use a slope-intercept equation. But sometimes we don't have that. Sometimes we might have a point and a slope. So if we have a point and a slope, it would make sense to use the point-slope form. And the point-slope form of an equation looks like this. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, where m is the slope and x1 and y1 are a point on the line. So m is the slope of the line and x1 and y1 are a point on the line. So let's give an example. Maybe you were given a slope of, we'll say 2, okay, and a point 1, -3. And the instructions were, write an equation of a line that goes through this point and has this slope. Well, the first thing you would do is ask yourself, what information is given? Well, we're given a slope and a point. A point and a slope. It would make sense to use the point-slope form of an equation. So, do that. The first thing you'll want to do, though, is make sure everything is labeled. x1, y1. And then this is our m. Anytime you use a formula, always label what's given. It's very helpful, and it helps eliminate little mistakes. So, we're going to go through, we go back to our equation, and we'll say, hey, this asks for a plain old ordinary y. Well, we don't have a plain old ordinary y. We just have this fancy y with the last name. So, we're going to go ahead and just write plain old ordinary y minus, now it asks for a y1. It asks for a y1, so I'm going to plug in y1. So I'm going to go plug in -3. And since it's negative, I'm going to say, hey, look at me, I'm negative. So I'm going to put him in parentheses. Bring attention to that. Remind yourself that that 3 is negative. Then we have our equal sign. And now it calls for a slope. It calls for m, so I'm going to plug in m. So I go to m, and that's 2. Okay. Now it asks at parentheses and a plain old ordinary x. So parentheses, plain old ordinary x minus. Now it asks for x1. So I'm going to look at what x1 is. Oh, x1 is 1. So I'm going to plug in 1. Okay. Now you may want to clean it up a bit. Okay. Meaning this minus a -3, we should probably clean him up. Subtracting a negative is really adding. So go ahead and write it as y plus 3 equals 2 times the quantity x minus 1. Now, if the instructions just said write the equation of the line, we're done. There's the equation of a line that has a slope of 2 and goes through the point -1, 3. Okay? But if we needed to write it in slope-intercept form, well, we're not quite there yet. Because slope-intercept form, mind you, the equation is solved for y, meaning y is by itself, and it's simplified. Clearly, y is not by itself, and it's clearly not simplified. So we need to do that. So the first step in simplifying, you might be saying, hey, make sure you distribute that too. Give everybody some love. So do that. Y plus 3 equals 2 times x is 2x minus 2 times 1 is 2. Now, y is still not by itself, so box the term you're solving for. Draw your street. Who didn't make it inside the box? Ooh, the 3. So we got to kick him to the curb. Kick him to the other side of the street. Subtract 3. That undoes adding 3. And whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So we have to subtract 3 over here. Remember, make sure you're subtracting friends from friends. And that minus 3 is friends with the minus 2 because they look the same. 3 minus 3 is 0, so that's going to cancel, which is what we wanted. And we're left with a y on this side of the street. And over here we have 2x. Now be careful of your negatives, okay? Because this says negative 2 minus 3. So if we lose $2, then we lose $3, we have lost $5. So negative 2 minus 3 is a minus 5. As an added bonus now, looky here, here's our slope, and now we know our y-intercept is negative 5. Let's do another example. In this example, the instructions say write the point-slope form of the equation of a line through the given point with the given slope. So we're given a point, we're given a slope, and it wants the point-slope form of the equation. Well, great. Let's write it on our paper so that we know. So if we, just to remind ourselves, it's always good to do this. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Ooh, fit it in there. Okay, and as I say before, make sure we label. So we're going to label x1, y1. And here's our slope of m. Alright, so now let's do it to it. Plug and chug cookbook city from here. Calls for a plain old ordinary y. Hey, I get to keep the plain old ordinary y. Minus y1. y1 is a negative 5. Hey, look at me, I'm negative, so we're going to put him in parentheses. Equals. Now it asks for an m. There's our m right here. Negative 5 halves. And then it asks for plain old ordinary x minus x1. There's our x1. That's 2. Now it said write the point-slope form of the equation, so we're done. We wrote it in point-slope form. You may want to simplify it just a bit by cleaning up this double sign, and you could rewrite it as y plus 5 equals minus 5 halves x minus 2. In fact, if this was a multiple choice question, the answer choices would have had that double negative cleaned up. So it's good to practice that. Just notice and recognize that this right here would be an equation of a line in point-slope form. The equation of the line that goes through the point 2, negative 5, and has a slope of negative 5 halves. Now, here's another way that you'll see these instructions. Let's erase that. So if I make this a little bit smaller so you can see the full instructions. It says write the slope-intercept form of the equation. Okay, of a line that goes through a given point and the given slope. Okay, so in this particular case, you'll see that they want the equation in slope-intercept form. So let's remind ourselves, slope-intercept form looks like this. Y equals mx plus b. Okay? Where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. We have a slope, but we don't have a y-intercept. If we had a y-intercept, that x value would be 0, and it's not. x is 4 in this case. So, but we are given a slope and we're given a point. So, it would make sense to use the point-slope form of equation. And the point-slope form, remember, is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Well, like I said before, make sure you label. Let me get all this on one page. Okay, x1, y1. Always start with that. And then m is your slope. x1, y1, m is the slope. Plug and chug, cookbook city from here. Calls for plain old ordinary y. You substitute a plain old ordinary y. Minus y1. y1 right here is 5. So I'm going to substitute 5 where I see a y1. Equals, now it asks for an m. I have m is 3/4. So I'm going to substitute 3/4. Parentheses x minus x1. Substitute x1. So I'm going to put a 4 there. Now this would be the equation in a point-slope form. But remember, we wanted slope-intercept form. So we got to make it look like this, which means we have to simplify and solve for y. So let's simplify first, and you guessed it, we've got to distribute, give everybody some love here. So we're going to keep the y minus 5 equals 3/4 x minus 3/4 times 4/1. Don't be afraid of those fractions. Okay? Y minus 5 equals 3/4 x. Now here we have fractions. Remember, you multiply straight across. So 3 times 4, well, minus 3 times 4 is a minus 12 over 4 times 1 is 4. Okay, let's simplify that some more. Y minus 5 equals 3/4 x minus 12 divided by 4 is 3. Okay, we're not done yet. Remember, we have to solve for y, which means we got to box the y. Draw your street. Who didn't make it inside the box? This guy right here, that minus 5. So what undoes subtracting 5? Adding 5. Okay, and I got to add 5 over here. Friends, add friends to friends. So he's friends with the minus 3. And to simplify, negative 5 plus 5 is 0. So we're left with y equals 3/4 x. Negative 3 plus 5 is a positive 2. Means we owe $3, but we have $5 in our pocket. We still have $2 left. So notice we have our slope in 3/4 and a y-intercept of 2, and we have our y equals mx plus b, also known as our slope-intercept form. Okay, so this would be y equals 3/4 x plus 2. Okay, so now it is your turn. You'll have a paper, the same paper in front of you, where you'll have several problems that you'll get to practice on. Good luck. If you have any questions, Ms. Cagle is here to help.